Okay, not sure when it ended. It doesn't give me a little ding when it ends. So these are the short string shapes here, okay? And these are the long string shapes. This is when we want to play away from the fret nut. Okay, so we can't go root 2 then over to 3. We have to go root 2 and 3 up here. We can't go over because the fret nut is here. All right? Matter of fact, anywhere we start the fret nut, anywhere we put the fret nut, either here or here. Okay, so that's important to show perhaps. If we put the fret nut here, or if we put it here. Okay, don't worry about the part that don't worry about this one. I'm just saying for the 4 and the 5, and for these guys, no matter where you put that fret nut, not no matter where you start the pattern build. Okay, you're gonna use the pattern and go to the long pattern with the long string shapes. Now, I've come up with a new system, and it's really just out of curiosity and everything. So let's just review first, so we don't get, you know, like, it's always important to review, and then we build back up to the new stuff. Down C tuned, the fret nut is here on R. C. Down D tuned, the fret nut is here on the 2 of this key, which is the D. It would be the root of the D. And down and key of C, so this is key of C down D tuned. Key of C E tuned. E is the 3rd of this root of C, but E tuned, you could say this is the root of the key of E. So we have our 3 tunings. I happen to be down C tuned, some people are down D tuned, most people are normal tuned, and some people have a capo just anywhere. Now let's do a little exercise. We have 3 keys right here. How many keys are remaining? 12 minus 3 is 9. There's still 9 keys remaining that you could put the capo on to get all 12. To practice playing on all 12 keys. But you might say, well, what's the difference if I'm going to play the exact same thing just from the capo, same shape? So that's good. That helps us. But there is a difference, and this is what I've done with this chart. So once again here we have our 12 modes here. We have our 12 cages here. Okay? And also I've shown the next cage up to show just sinking this root down 1. So I've just really shown just one more cage up where we've sunk the root down 1. So this cage would start with E as the open string. Okay, so let's look at that. Now let's see with the Lydian cage. So if it's normal tuning, say it's normal tuning, so the fret nut is here, right? Then the E would become the 4th of the key of B. All right, the next cage up starts there. All right, so then this would be the fret nut, and C, which is 5 flat. Okay, 5 flat would become the open string there. We're going to find out what's going on there. And that's a different key. It's just a different key. If you look at it, if you want to keep on with the same numbers in the key of C, then we simply play a different pattern there. We're playing the Locrian pattern there. Over here, we're playing the tripentatonic, but starting on the 5, 6, 7. Okay, so sometimes we might have to start off the fret nut. Sometimes we start on the fret nut. Okay, so, but they're all 12 of them, and that tipped me off that there's got to be 12 keys involved here. So let's look. So this is what the bottom string of each of those cages is, with the E1 doubled, 4, 5, 6, 7 root 2, but we have a G there now. Now we're going to pay attention to that G. We're not just going to say, oh, and this is right justified. Remember, 5 to 7 is in P4 tuning is a perfect third there. So we have a little shape fitting there. Now we're going to say we're going to pay attention to this G string shape. Remember, G string shape is 6/7 root. So it shares the 7 root with the E string shape 7 root 2. Similar with the C string shape, we have the D here. But we have another C string shape up here, which starts on the 3 but also has the 6 flat. So there's two different versions. Now we're giving them actually their own individual key. How are we going to decide in the world what that key is? So this is how I figured it. Let's look at dot scales. If root equals key of C, okay, the dot scales, as we spoke about earlier in the lesson, C is the root of the key of C. C is the second of the key of B. C is the third of the key of A flat. The fourth of key of G. The fifth of the key of F. C is the sixth of the key of E flat, and the seventh of the key of D flat. So let's do that one more time. C is the root of the key of C, the second key of B, the third of the key of A flat, the fourth of the key of G, the fifth of the key of F, the sixth of the key of E flat, the seventh of the key of D flat. That gives us 7 keys that we can work from just with that one C note right here. So look, C is the fifth of F. Okay, so right here we can play a 5 string shape there. 5, 6, 7. So we're like, okay, because it's the fifth of that key. But that's only 7 keys. The dot scale gives us 7 keys that our dot note, you know, a dot could be anything, right? It could be anything. I mean, sure, a dot is a dot is a dot is a dot. I have dots on my keyboard, okay, but they're the original dots. Obviously, they're the E dots, you know, that came along with the tuning. Now, when I down tuned, my double dot up here becomes whatever I down tune the bottom string to. In this case, a C. I looked at the dots differently. I looked at them as they could be anything with respect to something else. Sounds like, you know, sounds like abstract physics, right? So that gives us 7 of the keys that we could play in just from that one note. Any one note. A dot could be any one note. How do we get the other 5? And the answer is right here. Remaining 5 keys, the flats. We've got 5 keys, the flats. 2 flat, 3 flat, 5 flat, 6 flat, and 7 flat. Okay? So, the string shapes are labeled on the flats. Alright, let's look at that. Do we have any string shape labels? Yeah, we have them up here. Okay, the string shapes are labeled on the flat. So here's 7 flat is labeled G because the G string shape is 6/7 root. 3 flat is labeled D because the D string shape is 2, 3, 4. Okay, 5 flat is labeled C because the C string shape is 3, 4, 5, etc., etc. 2 flat is labeled E because the E string shape is 7 root 2. So that's what the flats are all about, all 5 of them. Now root is the 7 flat, or the G as we just talked about, because the G string shape is 6/7 root. So 7 flat falls in the G string shape. So R equals 7 flat of what? C. If R equals C, this is all if R equals C in the key of C, or root key of C. Alright, so I don't get confused. 7 flat of D. R equals the 7th flat of the key of D. Okay? Now, is that, let's just pause for a second. All right, that is the flat of the major seventh, which is the dominant.